Hello from Epic Snap Stories. Today I'm going to explain a fantasy, drama show called Lock and Key. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. The story opens as an unnamed man receives a phone call just as he's entering his home. He is informed that someone named Rendell Locke is dead. This prompts the man to immediately get inside his home and gather together maps, photographs, and documents. One of these photographs is of a group of 6 young people, taken a few decades ago, and features a young Rendell Locke. Once his documents are gathered, the man opens a hidden safe and retrieves a key. He then takes off his shirt and places the key near his heart. Seconds later, a keyhole appears right in the middle of his chest. In a strange turn of events, the man stabs the key into his chest, immolating himself and burning his house to the ground. On the other hand, following Rendell's death, the remainder of the Locke family, matriarch Nina, eldest son, Tyler, middle child, Kinsey, and the youngest, Bode, move to a town named Matheson. Nina seems determined to start a new life, away from the prying eyes of their hometown. However, Matheson doesn't seem to bring them much joy either. Everyone, from the server boy at the ice cream parlor to the children at school, knows about their family tragedy. Some people are kinder about it while others are outright cold. It is then revealed that the Lockes have moved into Rendell's ancestral home, Keyhouse Manor. It's massive, daunting and clearly needs a lot of repair. Rendell's brother, Duncan, is the caretaker, but he lives in Boston and doesn't care much for the house. The scene then cuts to a flashback from 3 months ago, where Nina and Rendell are spending a lovely evening together. Their moment of peace is soon interrupted by Sam Lesser, one of Tyler's friends. He looks possessed and insists on speaking to Rendell about the key house. But the latter dismisses the topic and tries to avoid further questioning. This prompts Sam to pull out a gun and shoot Nina in the leg as a warning. At this crucial moment, Tyler arrives home and knocks on the front door. Rendell uses this opportunity to try and snatch the gun away but gets shot in the process. A stunned Tyler then enters, but he can just watch on as his father collapses to the floor and passes away forever. Back in the present day, Bode is photographing the scenery around the house when he is drawn to a locked outhouse containing a well. He is able to fit through the surrounding bars and immediately takes a Polaroid photo of the well's bottom. He then accidentally drops the image into the well. To Bode's surprise, the Polaroid magically appears right by his side. This piques the kid's interest and he yells into the well. Seconds later, a female voice replies back, addressing him personally. But the little boy becomes scared and runs back to his house. The next day, at their new school, Kinsey eats her food alone at lunchtime as she has no friends. Only a boy named Scott, who works at the local ice cream parlor, approaches her. He invites her to hang with him later on, but she declines the offer as she doesn't know him that well. Meanwhile, at home, Bode hears the female voice from earlier calling him. His mother has gone to a hardware store and so, he decides to check the well out once more. The woman, whom he refers to as Echo, reveals that the Keyhouse Manor is full of magical keys. She explains that there is a key that allows someone to step outside of their body, and another that allows people to change appearances. However, the best key is the Anywhere key, one that can take him anywhere he wants to go. If Bode wants to find them, he should listen to the voices inside the house. Upon hearing all of this, the kid becomes really curious and he heads back home, determined to find these magical artifacts. A few nights later, Bode hears strange voices near Kinsey's bracelet. It was gifted to her by their father before he passed away. While she is in the bathroom, Bode manages to take the bracelet apart and finds his first key, the Anywhere key. Excited, he promptly rushes back to his room and puts it in the keyhole of his closet. He then steps into the closet and comes out in his desired destination, the neighborhood ice cream parlor. The next day, Bode tells Kinsey about his adventure, but the latter yells at him for destroying her beloved bracelet. This upsets the kid, but he shrugs it off and searches every nook and corner of his home. He eventually manages to find the second key, the mirror key, which is hidden in the sink drain. Later, he asks the voice in the well about his latest find. Echo explains that the key can show him a person he loved, even if they're dead. Upon hearing this, a stunned Bode decides to use the key to see his late father. He also wants his family with him for the joyous moment. In the next scene, Bode uses the second key on the mirror of his room, which prompts him to see another version of himself. He then runs to his mother and drags her to his room. To Bode's utter horror, Nina also sees her other version but gets mesmerized and quickly steps into the mirror. Once inside, she reaches out to touch her other self, but the mirrors around her suddenly start cracking. It is obvious that Nina is now trapped in the mirror realm. Following this, a scared Bode runs to the outhouse and asks Echo for help. The voice reveals herself in human form and finally comes out of the well. She then promises to save Nina in exchange for the Anywhere key. But the moment Bode hands it to her, Echo reveals her true intentions. She uses the key on a storage closet in the outhouse and vanishes into the outer world. Next, the distraught young boy races back home with a rope. He explains everything to his siblings and pleads with them for help. Kinsey and Tyler initially think that he's joking, but when Bode starts crying, they realize he's serious. Following this, the trio rushes to the room where Tyler tethers himself to one end of the rope. The other two then grab the remaining end and Tyler ventures into the mirror realm. With some difficulty, he eventually finds Nina brings her back to the real world. Once outside the mirror, the children mull over the strange experience. But Nina seems to have immediately forgotten the events, leaving the children even more confused. Elsewhere, in prison, Sam Lesser has a visitor. It is revealed to be none other than Echo. Few days pass by and while his brother and sister have already started school, Bode has a week till his term starts. He stays at home attempting to decode the situation surrounding the keys. He also wants to take revenge from the woman from the well house, who he refers to as Echo. One afternoon, while playing around, Bode finds the third key in an old vacuum cleaner. He tries it on all the doors around the house but is unable to activate it. Later, he bumps into Rufus the gardener, and the two quickly bond over their shared affinity for action figures. Bode then asks what weapon he should use against an enemy that he doesn't know anything about. Rufus suggests a bear trap, but warns his new friend to be careful. Later, Bode takes his latest key and goes to a local pawn shop that sells antique items. The shopkeeper explains that the artifact is probably from the 17th century. However, as the shopkeeper turns around, Bode notices a keyhole on the back of his neck. The little boy finally theorizes that the new key works on people and not doors. Following this, he runs back home and places the new key near his neck. A small keyhole soon appears on the spot, confirming his theory. However, he decides not to use it for the time being. Elsewhere, Echo is enjoying her freedom a little too much. She eats almost every dish available at a diner and uses the Anywhere key to escape without paying the bill. She then steals designer clothes from a store, and later breaks into a jewelry shop to take away a necklace stud. A few days later, Rufus' mother Ellie comes to pick him up from Key House Manor. Nina is glad to meet her and invites her inside for a chat. From their conversation, it is revealed that Ellie and Rendell went to school together. They were part of a group of 6 close friends which included Lucas, Rendell's best friend as well as Ellie's husband. However, one day, a tragedy befell the group. They had gone for a swim barely half a mile away from the Key House Manor. Unfortunately, the weather took a turn for the worse and 3 of them, including Lucas, drowned to their deaths. Nina is surprised to learn this because her husband never told her about his friends, let alone the drowning incident. Meanwhile at school, Scott invites Kinsey for the leading role in the school play. The latter is tired of not having any friends and decides to accept the offer. However, things once again take a turn for the worse as during shooting, a violent scene triggers her past trauma. It reminds her of the day her father died and is forced to quit the play. Similarly, Tyler is struggling with his past as well. He goes on a date with a girl and they later start making out. However, while kissing her, he gets flashes of Sam Lesser's face which make him agitated. Tyler then abruptly ends their date and heads home without any explanation. Just like her kids, Nina isn't free from trauma either. While buying hardware for the house, she comes across a hammer which triggers some bad memories in her. A flashback ensues and the scene shifts to the day of her husband's death. Sam Lesser had just killed Rendell and was going after Kinsey. Tyler was desperately trying to get into the house but couldn't do so because the front door was locked from inside. In that precarious moment, a wounded Nina found the strength to drag herself up. She then grabbed a hammer from nearby and knocked Lesser out for the moment. Back in the present day, Nina still hallucinates about seeing blood when she holds the hammer. On the other hand, it is revealed that the key Bode had found is called the head key. It allows users to explore the mind of the person the key is inserted into. Bode finally tries it on himself and has an out-of-body experience. He sees himself frozen in time with the key still inserted in the back of his neck. Alongside his frozen self is a giant chest that wasn't there before. Bode sees his name written on the chest and opens it. Turns out, it is a gateway into his mind which is full of memories and thoughts. These are set up like an arcade with bright lights and loud sounds. Plenty of children's toys are scattered around and the main emotion within the chest is happiness. Later that night, Bode shares his new discovery with his siblings. He then sticks the key into his neck and invites them into his mind. The trio happily enters the chest and are awed by the colors and sounds. Moments later, Bode directs them to a memory of their father, a story about a sea monster that he used to tell all his children. Unfortunately, Bode never knew how the story ended as he always used to fall asleep midway. After a while, they come out of the chest and Bode removes the key from his neck. Tyler questions how he is finding the keys, to which Bode reveals that he hears them. Kinsey then remarks that their father must have known about the keys as one was hidden in her bracelet. Nonetheless, Tyler fears that these magical artifacts are dangerous and takes them away from his little brother. He gives the head key to Kinsey while keeping the mirror key for himself. A few days later, the siblings get into Kinsey's head, which is beautifully organized as a multi-level shopping mall. It is here that the end of the sea monster story is revealed. It is indeed a happy ending, but that's not the version Tyler was told. However, he remains silent and the siblings come back to the real world shortly afterwards. Later that night, Tyler thinks about the story his father had told him. It was a much darker version which revolved around a person making terrible choices. In the end, the person was left to ponder his mistakes for the rest of eternity. It is then revealed that Tyler had been tasked by Rendell to help Sam Lesser in school. The two young boys got close and one day, Tyler casually mentioned that Kinsey was the family's perfect child. Upon hearing this, Sam became upset as he couldn't do anything right in his father's eyes. He said that he often thought about killing his own father. Tyler laughed at his words and even jokingly asked Sam to do the same for him. This explains why Tyler has been so withdrawn from the family since his father's death. Not only is he grieving, but he feels guilty as he thinks that he egged Sam on to kill Rendell. Elsewhere, Nina meets Ellie at a local diner. It is obvious that the latter has ulterior reasons to keep an eye on the Keyhouse Manor. During their conversation, Nina says that she used to be an alcoholic once but has been sober for 6 years. She still regrets missing out on so much of her children's lives. Nina also reveals that her youngest son had met a scary lady in the well house. This catches Ellie's attention, who seems very interested in the story, although she doesn't express it outright. After returning home that night, Nina goes through her closet and finds a yearbook that belonged to her husband. She looks through it, stopping to gaze at Rendell's old picture. She also sees his other friends, including a photo of Lucas with an omega symbol down around him. The next few pages are littered with various symbols around several people. Suddenly, Nina realizes that she has seen the omega symbol before. She distinctly remembers noticing it on Sam's wrist just before he shot her husband. On the other hand, Echo is using her freedom to track down old friends, one of whom is Mark Cho. It is revealed that this is the man who immolated himself in the opening scene. She uses the Anywhere key to travel to his home but finds it burnt to a crisp. Suddenly, Echo notices a kid nearby who has a thread containing a key around his neck. This is the same key that Mark Cho had used to burn himself down. Echo goes after the kid and manages to lure him inside the ruins of the home. She promises to show him magic using her Anywhere key in exchange for his necklace. Following this, Echo uses her key on a half-burnt door and opens a portal to a railway platform. This grabs the kid's attention, and right when he's distracted, she snatches his necklace. Echo then pushes the kid onto the train tracks before closing the door. In the meantime, the cheeky Bode manages to find yet another key. It is hidden in the painting of his great-great-grandfather, Chamberlain Locke. This is the ghost key, which turns the user into a ghost when used on a door with a skull knob. One such knob is present in the Keyhouse library, and Bode immediately inserts his latest key in it. As he steps through the library's door, his soul is yanked out of his body and he turns into a ghost. Next, the little boy enjoys himself flying through the grounds and the forest in his ghost form. There's also a cemetery on the grounds, where Bode meets Chamberlain, who is an actual ghost. The old man tells him something interesting. Rendell and his brother, Duncan, used to use the ghost key all the time when they were children. This is particularly strange as Bode never heard Duncan talk about any of the keys. While returning back to his body in the mansion, Bode sees something else as a ghost. Turns out Ellie has a key to the well house and she is looking for Lucas.
I ran to the places we used to roam, back when we called the streets our home. Every corner whispers your name, in this city where nothing's the same. Skies turned pink by the setting sun. We chased dreams until the night was done. And every laugh and every tear, we crafted memories we'd hold dear. Hear the echoes of our youth. In every step I take, there's days go by, but the past still lingers in the sky. In every beat, in every sigh, I feel our spirits getting high. Beneath the stars we made a vow that we'd never let the world get us down. Now I stand alone, but feel you near in every breeze that brushes here. Hear the echoes of our youth. In every step I take there's truth. Lost in time but not in heart. From you I'll never be apart. Hear the echoes of our youth. In every step I take there's truth. Lost in time but not in heart. From you I'll never be apart. Never be apart. From you I'll never be apart.